Ciao Milanisti and welcome back. And this week I've got four main things I really want to talk about. Look, firstly, of course, I'm going to do the recap on my opinions of the Atalanta fixture away from home from our 1-1 draw, which can be seen as a seemingly positive result considering all circumstances. I'm going to do my sort of predictions, preview for the Bologna game coming up and how I see the team fielding in that fixture. I could do the Sassuolo game as well, but I just think it's very difficult to preview two games when there might be rotations, but we can factor in rotations nonetheless. Other news, of course, is big things coming in this week about Rafael Leao and his potential future at AC Milan, and I'm going to give you my opinions on how I feel it can be going in that trajectory. And lastly is the Champions League group stage, and the point of filming this, the group stage has just happened, so I can give my opinions on the official group stage for Milan. So yeah, four main things to really get into it, and let's crack on with the first, which would be the Atalanta review. So the Atalanta game, look, I think when we look at the historical form there in the last couple of seasons, of course, we had the game that won us got us into the Champions League, the 2-0 victory, the two Frank Kessie penalties. We came leaps and bounds from that fixture, which was last year when we went away from home and went 3-0 up, and of course there were two goals. The game ended 3-2. There's been some good form against Atalanta recently. We beat them as well at home last season, and it seems to be that sort of that era of Gasperini. I'm fearing that we're going to go to him, or even if he comes to us at San Siro, and he's going to put us in a tough game. It seems to be slightly evaporating. I do think a lot of it goes down to the fact that we have obviously increased our quality on the pitch and our confidence at the same time of them decreasing theirs and losing good, I think, influential players like Papu Gomez and Josip Ilicic, who have usually put us to the sword, are no longer at Atalanta anymore. So I do feel like that sort of coincided with each other, and going into these fixtures, I just don't really have that fear. So we come away with a draw in this game. Is it a positive result? And for me personally, yes, it is, because when you really look at the first two games, Udinese and Atalanta, some tough games to start the season with. If you go like for like from last season, we're on the same points as we captured against these similar results from last season, because we drew the home game against Udinese and we beat Atalanta away. So we're sort of the same off as we were from the previous season if you can compare the fixtures. Would I have liked us to get the win? Of course. I do feel like if you look at the stats in that game, the shots on target, the possession, we controlled the tempo very well. It's a shame we didn't come away with that with a victory. There were some moments where I did feel like with a bit of luck, and if it fell, for me it was when Origi, of course, when he breaks through and then Jim City comes in last minute and sort of intercepts the ball right before he shoots it, and I think that was going to be a guaranteed goal there, how close he was to the goal. Sandro Tonali being put through from Charlie de Ketelaere's through ball, should have done better on that one-on-one. Macias's finish on the Teo Hernandez cross in the first half. For me, I put it down to a game of moments, and I think this is where the team as well, you talk about the quality up front, we have to take these moments, and we're going to be so cutthroat. The Macias shot is a prime example where before, I think it was about 5 minutes before Atalanta scored their goal, Malinowski's goal. If we just took that chance there, the game could have been so much more different. But these things can happen, of course. We're not the perfect squad, we haven't got the perfect 11, and moments can just, slip through your fingers from time to time. So, I think it's a sign of development. And like I said, we can now go away to very tough fixtures like Atalanta away, dominate the game. It wasn't complete domination, but relatively control it, have more of the stronger moments when it comes to scoring those winning goals. We have the depth, we have the higher quality. I just didn't think we can walk away from that fixture knowing that we had a bit more left in the tank. Maybe it just seems to be that it's so early in the season that we just didn't have enough to really take it over the edge and get those 3 points. But at the same time, I'm really confident about the result. I thought it was quite positive. Benacer, I think we have to talk about the kid. Incredible goal, the way he just shifts it into his left foot. You could probably cast the debate that Koopmeiners should have known that, but for both players being left-footed, I think it's easy to say that, expect Benacer to take it onto his left. I'm a left-footed person myself, so you kind of want him to go onto your left and you don't really want to go onto your right. So that was a perfect matchup for Benacer in that moment, that he can just sort of dummy him, shift it to his left, which would have been Koopmeiners' weaker foot, and then obviously bury that shot away, which was simply incredible. But his effort in the rest of the game, his awareness, I made a note about his aggression, technical ability with the passing, and just, he was just sublime, completely sublime. And it goes off the back of recent incredible performances. And obviously, we're going to come on to contracts being very important coming up. Something we have to get resolved. And I don't think we're looking at figures which are just obscene. Like, you know, if it has to get done for 3.5, 4 million euros, 4.5 million euros to get his contract renewed. This is one of the best centre midfielders in world football, in my opinion, European football. And quite simply, we have to get a renewal done. This is the right time to strike. From what we know, that renewal was near enough done back in when Theo Hernandez got his done in January, February time at the start of this year. But of course, complications came with new management. He wanted to see where the project's going. And yeah, I think it's so simple. The player is playing incredible football right now that we have to get that contract renewed. And before I get onto my observations, I will just say as well, the front four for me that started the game, Rafael Leao, Rebic, Diaz and Macias, very disappointing. You know, coming off the back of my video last week, which was saying, are we past now being so like Leao dependent? It was a real shame that I didn't see the performances, especially from Diaz, especially from Rebic, and especially from Macias. We'll come on to Leao shortly as well. But like those three players there, well, I really thought they could take that moment and take the opportunity. They just didn't do it. They didn't do it. Maybe the game was a bit too much for them. Maybe they're stronger against weaker sides. Yeah, they just didn't do enough in that first half. They were really weak, in my opinion. There wasn't enough sort of confidence. They started pretty well. You know, Macias took it down the byline a few times. They started the confidence really well the first 10, 15 minutes, but it just fizzled out. Really disappointed with that. But going on to my observations, I've got about 5 here. Defensive communication really needs to improve. You know, 2 goals conceded against Udinese. I spoke about my sort of critique on, especially set pieces in the first goal against them. This one, the Malinowski goal, he's a dangerous player, of course, with that left foot. There was, when you really look at the goal from the other side, so from like behind Theo Hernandez, someone needs to be communicating, whether it's Theo Hernandez or Mignon in that situation. They're obviously all looking towards the ball, which is on the other side. But maybe Theo, probably being the person who can see the whole game in front of him, needs to be telling Sandro Tonali or Kalulu or Tomori, saying, look, 3 of you boys are on Zapata. And in that split second, needs to say, 1 of you lads, look out for Malinowski because he's just peeled off. And I think that's just, in a split second, it just didn't happen there. So really need to improve on defensive communication. But of course, this can just happen in a split second. Kalulu versus Zapata, he was getting bullied. And it's concerning. It's really concerning because, of course, I'm fully confident that Kalulu has all the ability to be an incredible centre-back, and he is a very good centre-back. But he was getting physically bullied by Zapata, which gives me a bit of pre-worried sort of feelings about how he's going to be with Romelu Lukaku. And of course, he's not built with the biggest imposing frame as a body. Of course, incredible speed, incredible composure, incredible sort of awareness. But it's just some things genetically, of course, he's still so young. He hasn't quite developed into that body yet. So I'm kind of worried of how he's going to be against someone like Lukaku. You know, Osimhen, we can double up on him. They did it last season. But when you're against a striker in a front 2 formation like Lukaku will be with Lautaro Martinez, it's going to be a bit interesting to see how the Kalulu deals with that. So I'm hoping he's learnt a bit from that duel with Zapata, that he needs to deal with these more physical centre-forwards a bit differently, especially when they have a bit of speed to work with. Rafael Leao, predictable. Really poor, predictable. I didn't like how he was just dropping off constantly, trying to get the ball from near enough the halfway line to get off Theo Hernandez, who's kind of looking at him going like, look, I need you to be further up the pitch so we can start these moves. There's a bit of me that, I think people are jumping on it a bit too much, saying that Rafa's sort of like his head's dropped, he's not the same player. This Chelsea talk, which we'll come on to, is getting into his head, the contract, Mendes. I don't want to buy into that. I do feel like it just comes down to being like full match fitness and ready to go. there is obviously different layers to the kid that we will see once his engines are fully pumping. I do feel like there's an element of his game, and you can see Stefano kind of like completely shouting at him, saying, look, you need to get yourself closer to the box, closer to the striker. And essentially that's what he was doing last season, where he was so damaging with how close he was to Giroud, peeling off him in a sense, and maybe just doesn't feel confident enough that Rebic is that sort of centre forward to do that with. So he feels like he has to maybe drop off a bit more and collect the ball. It just wasn't impressing me enough. And of course, I think it was the right decision to take him off the pitch at the time to sub him for Origi. He just wasn't doing enough, in my opinion. So that's something if he stays with us, and I believe he will stay with us, we'll come on to that. I do feel like he just needs to just adapt that level to his game, because things are becoming now a bit predictable. And with the double ups happening, he does need to deal with and show another element to his game. And of course, he's so young that he can easily do that. But now it's learn from these bad games that you can't just keep doing the whole burners thing and taking on the right back or the right centre back. You know, there were some moments which I thought were really good. You know, of course, he put Toloi on a yellow card. You know, there were some moments where, you know, it's decision making in the final third, whatever it might be, he tested the Atalanta defence. But if he really wants to be that top quality player, he just needs to really work on his sort of predictability. CDK looked encouraging. When he came on, it was quite interesting because it was almost like a 4-3-3, because I think he came on at the point where it was Giroud as well, but Origi wasn't quite yet on the pitch. Rafael Leao was still kind of on the pitch, so he kind of turned into a 4-3-3. He was playing as a sort of like a left centre midfielder, and he obviously matched up with Tonali and Benacer, kind of playing as that sort of, you know, higher box-to-box player. Like I said last week, I felt like he was deeper than the wingers. So we're kind of seeing shades of the 4-3-3 there. And as soon as Origi came on as well for Rafael Leao, and Origi, as I said, is not a winger, played him just peeling off Olivier Giroud. He kind of played it as a 4-4-2, or like this sort of hybrid 4-4-2, where Salamakers was on the right, and CDK was just obviously picking up space and pressing in certain different players, different elements of positions. So yeah, it's very interesting when he comes on the pitch. Like I said, I'm very interested to see when he starts from the first minute as a cam in a starting 11 how he does. But I've seen some good signs. The through ball to Tonali I thought was exceptional, but obviously the pressing as well. I loved his aggression. I loved the pressing element to his game. You know, won the ball back a few times, you know, chased it down quite well. I'm really impressed by him. And yeah, like I said, Origi playing off Giroud, not a winger. He is playing as a supporting striker, and gets Leao's position, because of course we're not expecting Origi to come back in defence so much like a Rebic or a Salamakers or a Macias. But at the same time, he's going to peel off Giroud, and hopefully as the fitness kicks on, we're going to see moments where he had that sort of bit where he nearly got that shot off in the area. He's going to be a bit fitter, and he's going to get that shot off a lot sooner and get that goal. So really happy, and I thought there were good positive elements, but of course some things to work with from the Atalanta fixture. Now the Bologna predictions. Look, I think we're going into this game at home, definitely obviously favourites. I want to see a convincing win. I really want to see a convincing win. I see goals again. I really want to see us taking those opportunities. For the lineup, I've gone, of course, for the traditional back line with Mignon, Calabria at right back, Kalulu at right centre back, Tomori at left centre back, and Teo Hernandez at left back. Midfielders, you know, essentially picked themselves again. Benacer, an incredible performance. Of course, has to play again. He's had a week off. I don't think anyone's really leggy at this point. Tonali as well, put him alongside with him. Krunic is obviously still injured. You could kind of maybe potentially see Pobega there, because of course we have the game against Sassuolo at the sort of the start of next week. So, you know, maybe you might see a rotation here or there in this game, or certainly in the next game. But I'd certainly start off with Tonali and Benacer in midfield as well there, because Tonali didn't play in the first game, and I think it's just great seeing him under the San Siro lights. And at the front four, of course, is always the bit that just opts for the rotation depending on the form. And it's different going from, obviously, the Udinese to the Atalanta game, where we spoke about going into the Udinese game was a necessity to play players because of fitness. Of course, going into the Atalanta game, it was, all right, we've got form versus traditional first-team players, and he went for form. So now, of course, form did not work, and I would certainly like to see CDK play at the cam. Brahim Diaz had his shot against Atalanta, he was not good, so now you lose it to CDK, and he certainly deserves to start just by the way he was pressing, and I saw some good signs from Charlie Di Catlare. At the right side, Salamakers, he got the assist for the goal. I think there's a good link up there with the whole Belgium element with him and CDK, so I'm really interested to see him get his first start of the season. Rafael Leao, of course, at the left side, and then up front, I'll put Olivier Giroud. Just because, why not? You know, Rebic, I think Rebic and Diaz have to learn that if they have bad games, there is a rotation there and you're going to lose your spot. I'm not saying it's like it's going to happen all the time, but certainly for this game, I think it would be key. The rotation players here, of course, Yassin Adli, we want to see him get some minutes on the pitch. I do believe against Bologna is a great opportunity for that. Tommaso Pobega, will he see himself get some minutes, but maybe a starter in either this game or the Sassuolo game? Gabbia, I think he deserves a minute here or there, or potentially start in one of these fixtures as well. If not Kaya, it depends what Pioli wants to do with that. Florenzi, Macias, Origi, Rebic and Brahim. So yeah, I think for my formation, I'm going to go for Mignon, Calabria, Kalulu, Tomori, Teo, Benacer, Tonali, Salamakers, CDK, Leao and Giroud. Now let's talk about Rafael Leao. Like I said, people are kind of jumping to conclusions of his form and trying to piece together sort of this is how he's playing bad because Chelsea are linked with him and his contract and Mendes. For me, I like when our players are linked with top clubs. It's because we're doing something right in that aspect. You know, I remember the time in the banter era when it was sort of no one was thinking of our players because no one wanted them. But this is a time where we have such great talent that certainly, you know, these big clubs around Europe want our players, and it's up to us to obviously renew their contracts, keep them happy. If not, then sell them at the right time. And this is a very important decision right now for Rafael Leao and his situation. Of course, no renewal when his contract does expire in 2024. He had a 150 mil release clause, which I believe went up until July, so it's no longer valid. So that whole element of Chelsea coming up with the money and basically being out of our hands is now out of the water. It's basically in Milan's hands as a club. We have the choice, even if they come along with a stupid bid, to say no. And I think this late into the window, we will say no, even if they do come along with a bid, you know, regardless of how panicky Chelsea might be. There's the whole Sporting Lisbon dispute as well, which the money that he owes to the club is like 18 million euros or around that fee. It does make it very difficult. I am interested. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, he's definitely not going to renew. We've seen it all before with Kessie and Çalhanoğlu and Donnarumma. I'm interested to see that the variable here for me is new management. And we've seen it this summer. And the spend that we had, you know, around 50 million euros to work with, 35, and then someone's gone to CDK, Origi's, you know, his wages. What we've worked with this summer has essentially been the money that we've recouped from last season, winning the Scudetto, getting the Champions League, around 50 million euros, and then obviously that's, you know, it's probably a bit more than that, but once you sort of work out the money that's to go to the club, this is what we have really left over. It's not as if like Elliot gave us this money and here's your favour or anything like that. Look, they could have pulled the money back themselves, but this is essentially what we earned on the pitch. And if you look at the contract renewals, I looked at the maths myself, and you look at the salaries, Pobega got a 1.5 million euros extension, which came from Samuel Casillero's 1.5 million salary. CDK got a 2 million salary, which came from Kessie's 2.2 million salary. And then Origi got a 3.5 million salary, which came from Alessio Romagnoli's 3.5 million salary. So all the players we've brought in as well in the contract extension so far, look, Tomori's one as well. I think there was about 1.2 million euros extra there. They've all really come from departures from the squad, and players who were earning excessive amounts. So new money has not been pumped into this team yet, in my opinion, at all this summer. So when the new owners kick on from September the 1st or whenever it is, September 3rd, when Jerry Cardinale and Redbird take over this club, I'm just hopeful that their first priority will be renewing Benacer and Leao and giving them the money, the modern money that we should be paying these players. And look, beyond that, if there's no renewal by the World Cup, and I've stood by this for quite a while now, if there's no renewal by the World Cup, then assess the situation in January. Because for me as well, in January, Mark, and I've seen it being in this country so many times, that you know, teams will panic. If they're not, like a Chelsea, if they're not on course for top 4, they will spend ridiculous amount of money to fix their squad. And we'll probably get more money than we would have gotten, like, say if they bid for the Leao right now, in January, with more time to work with potentially selling the player. So I do feel like those are the sort of the chips that are in place. I wouldn't jump off the bandwagon yet saying, oh, he's not going to renew. Mendes this, you know, Sporting Lisbon's money owed that. Stay a bit hopeful. You know, let's not jump on, you know, critique him and just say, you know, bad games, his head's gone, he's not in it anymore. Still show a lot of love for the player. And this is me talking here. You know, I was someone who was very critical about Kessie's performances last year, but you know, I always want to remain hopeful about the situation, but realistic as well, that if he gets to the point to the World Cup and he goes and plays for Portugal out there, the eyes will be on him, and you know Mendes is going to be shipping his client out left way, you know, every way, and the rest. So I do feel like there has to be an educated decision come January if he hasn't renewed. But that's my opinion about Rafael Leao. We've got UEFA FFP as well, some news coming from them and the rumours saying that we're going to have a €2 million fine, despite, you know, vastly reducing our debt since the last settlement agreement and COVID affecting things, which is a bit ridiculous. But you know, €2 million is a, you know, drop in the ocean for most clubs. You know, not really our transfer market. But at the same time, I'm interested to see the other clubs and what they get into. Milan, Roma, potentially getting some bans in the transfer market. Yeah, you know, I'm going to sort of look back and observe how the punishments go to the other clubs with a bit of interest. And the Champions League draw. This is the most important thing, which you probably will come and tuned in for this week's video, because it's the latest thing that's happened. A good draw. You know, Chelsea, Red Bull Salzburg, Dinamo Zagreb, and if we really compare that to the group of death that we had last year in Liverpool, Atletico Madrid and Porto, really good. I mean, I look at Chelsea initially having difficulties at the start of this season. Of course, things can change when we play them, which won't be too far away from now in a couple of weeks' time. Not seen the pattern yet of the draw when we play each other. But all the games have been sandwiched in a smaller time frame. So really it's going to be, are you kicking on right now? If not, then, you know, it's not 6 months down the line or 3 months down the line. We're playing this in a congested timescale. Chelsea, I'm confident. I feel like we can do well against a team like Chelsea with so many changes in their side and a bit of unconfidence here, and, you know, having got a recognised striker, I'm a bit confident for that fixture. The other two teams, look, I can't sit here and say I know a lot about RB Salzburg and Dinamo Zagreb. I know they come with a bit of pedigree of being in this competition, certainly a lot more than what we've been in the last sort of 5 to 7 years. You know, Zagreb, I think about times where they shocked Tottenham Hotspurs, and yeah, we can't go into these fixtures thinking that it's such an easy group that we're going to, you know, smoke them. But at the same time, I do feel like we have superior quality to certainly two of these sides, Zagreb and Salzburg. But we have to certainly take these games seriously. But I'm confident looking at this group. And it goes to show you the importance of obviously winning the Scudetto, because our UEFA coefficient is not good. We would have been in pot 4, and we would have gotten a harder group. And look at Inter Milan, say, for example, this one. They've been, I believe, yeah, pot 3. A tough group, Barcelona, Bayern Munich in their group stage. It just goes to show the importance of winning the Scudetto, and then hopefully this will allow us to kick on, get out of the group stage, and maybe build our coefficient up. But you know, I think all of us are very happy about this draw. We don't want to be overconfident. I certainly don't want to be like that, because, you know, the higher it's easier to fall like that if you're just a bit too overconfident. We have to take every game seriously. There are some great fixtures here. I think there are going to be some great football against the likes of Zagreb and Salzburg. I'll be certainly interested to see some of these Salzburg players who have got traditionally great young talent, and you know, who knows, come January we might be able to sort of poach a few of their players if all goes well. But that's it for this week, guys. I'm going to sign off. I think I spoke about everything. So games against Bologna and Sassuolo. So hopefully get 2 wins, because I expect 2 wins from these games, because these are games that we should be winning. Until next time, Forza Milan.